A young girl named Lee Dam is traveling on a metro bus when suddenly a man accidentally touches her. Unknown to Lee Dam, this touch will severely impact her physical health. She suddenly starts feeling pain in her stomach. The man assumes that she is experiencing period issues and decides to stop the bus to allow Lee Dam to use the restroom. However, it's not a period issue. It's something else entirely. The story shifts to the previous night when Lee Dam is carrying her drunk friend, Do-Jae Jin, who has recently broken up with his girlfriend and has been drinking heavily. Lee Dam is carrying him on her back to take him home since he can't walk in his condition. However, she suddenly slips, and both friends fall to the ground. Do-Jae Jin stands up and starts running wildly under the influence of alcohol. Lee Dam chases after him but quickly turns into the next alley. When Lee Dam follows him, she finds that Do-Jae Jin has vomited on a beautiful, luxurious Porsche and is still lying in the car. The owner of the vehicle is standing beside it. Lee Dam assumes the rich man will scold her because of the vomit, so she starts apologizing on behalf of her friend. The rich man is none other than the main character, Shin Woo-yo. He accepts her apology and refuses to charge her for the repairs. As Lee Dam is about to leave with Do-Jae Jin, she slips again, and this time, Shin Woo-yo grabs her hand to prevent her from falling. During this encounter, Lee Dam accidentally thrusts her hand against Shin Woo-yo's chest. As a result, a shining marble-like object resembling a beautiful diamond emerges from Shin Woo-yo's mouth and enters Lee Dam. Immediately after, Lee Dam loses consciousness. The next morning, Lee Dam wakes up in Shin Woo-yo's luxurious house. He explains that she must now live with him because she has swallowed the marble, which is extremely precious to him. Shin Woo-yo must find a way to extract the marble, and until then, Lee Dam will have to stay with him. He also reveals that he is a gumiho, a mythical nine-tailed fox who has been living for over 900 years. Lee Dam finds this absurd and tries to call emergency services, but Shin Woo-yo transforms into his gumiho form, a large white fox with fluffy fur and multiple tails. The sight shocks Lee Dam, and she faints again. By nightfall, Lee Dam wakes up, and Shin Woo-yo is still sitting nearby, waiting for her. When he sees her awake, he goes to make her a cup of tea. However, as he turns away, Lee Dam seizes the opportunity to escape. She quickly leaves Shin Woo-yo's house and returns to her own home. The next morning, while Lee Dam is at her university, a fellow student approaches her from behind and grabs her, intending to tease her. However, his touch makes Lee Dam feel ill instantly. The more he touches her, the worse her condition becomes. This is similar to what happened when the man on the metro bus touched her earlier. Confused and concerned, Lee Dam goes straight to Shin Woo-yo and asks him what is happening to her. She explains that these symptoms started after her encounter with him. Shin Woo-yo tells her that the marble inside her is causing this reaction. From now on, any interaction with a man born in the year of the tiger will harm her health. The men on the bus and her university classmate were born in the year of the tiger, so their touch made her ill. Lee Dam asks how she can be treated. In response, Shin Woo-yo touches her face and explains that only his touch can heal her. This is why he wants her to live with him. Everything Shin Woo-yo says proves to be true, as Lee Dam feels better immediately after his touch. He is also surprised to notice that the marble, which originally glows red, has momentarily turned blue, an unusual behavior. Now Lee Dam has no choice but to live with Shin Woo-yo until he finds a way to extract the marble from her. That night, Lee Dam packs her belongings and prepares to move to Shin Woo-yo's house. On the way, she stops at a shop and buys a taser. She is still hesitant about living with a stranger, especially one who is a fox. However, the taser is quite expensive, so the shopkeeper suggests she buy pepper spray for self-defense. Just then, Lee Dam notices a crime scene story playing on the shop's TV. Feeling uneasy, she quickly purchases both the taser and the pepper spray for her safety. Back to Shin Woo-yo, who is still thinking why the marble turned blue inside Lee Dam. It's the first time in his entire life that the marble has changed color. Soon, Lee Dam arrives at his house and begins muttering complaints about Shin Woo-yo after seeing him through the window. Suddenly, he appears right in front of her, startling her once again. Shin Woo-yo has the ability to teleport from one place to another, which Lee Dam is still getting used to. He takes her luggage and welcomes her inside his home. Shin Woo-yo explains that from now on, Lee Dam must follow certain rules. She cannot touch any male born in the year of the tiger. She cannot eat chicken, and she cannot drink alcohol. Otherwise, her condition will worsen. Just as Lee Dam is heading to her room, some of her luggage falls to the ground, revealing the electric taser and pepper spray she had bought earlier. Flustered, she doesn't know what to say, so she quickly covers up the situation by claiming she bought them as gifts for him. Afterward, Lee Dam spends a comfortable night at Shin Woo-yeo's house. When she wakes up the next morning, she finds that Shin Woo-yeo has stocked the fridge with food for her. Before leaving for work, Shin Woo-yeo transforms himself into an old man to avoid suspicion about his immortality. At first, Lee Dam is shocked by this transformation, but she is gradually becoming accustomed to the strange and extraordinary experiences she has been encountering lately. At night, Lee Dam's friends call her out in a club, but she knows that she will get ill if she encounters someone born in the year of the tiger. That wouldn't be okay for her, so she has to leave quickly. Suddenly, the phone in her hand slips and is picked up by someone else. However, the other person has a bad attitude towards our girl. Lee Dam immediately takes the situation seriously. She reaches to take back her phone and leave, but the next second when they are outside the club, the man suddenly pulls her into a hug. The moment he touches her, a sharp pain shoots through Lee Dam's stomach. It's clear that this man was born in the year of the tiger. The pain is so intense that she can't even speak. The man, misinterpreting her silence, assumes she will willingly go with him and quickly starts leading her away. On the other hand, Shin Woo-yeo tries to call Lee Dam to ask if she is okay, but he could not reach her, so he thinks that Lee Dam might be in trouble. Back to the club alley. As Lee Dam and that stranger walk into an alley, Lee Dam's face grows increasingly pale. The man, trying to comfort her, mentions a hotel nearby. He promises that she will feel better soon, but by now she has no strength left. She desperately hopes that someone will save her. At that moment, Shin Woo-yeo appears at the scene. He suddenly pulls Lee Dam into his arms and attempts to take her away. However, the man blocks his path, unaware that the person standing before him is actually a 900-year-old fox. Without hesitation, Shin Woo-yeo strikes him and sends him flying meters away. After this incident, the distance between Lee Dam and Shin Woo-yeo seems to shrink a little. They go to a restaurant and share the dinner, and then also go for a walk. Lee Dam knows he protected her only because of the fox gem inside her body, so she curiously asks if the gem can be removed. Shin Woo-yeon replies that Lee Dam would have to wait for at least a year, and if he could not find a way to extract the marble, then Lee Dam would die. Obviously, he is teasing Our Lady, and there is no such thing in reality. However, knowing how long she has left, Lee Dam decides to enjoy all the delicious food she loves to eat, like chicken and alcohol. Meanwhile, at home, Shin Woo-yeo glances at the clock. It's 11 o'clock at night, and Lee Dam has not returned yet. He starts feeling a little worried about her. What he doesn't know is that, at this very moment, she has eaten and drunk too much. Because she's drunk, she can't walk steadily, and ends up falling to the ground. As she tries to stand up, she suddenly sees a red marble in front of her. She thinks that she has vomited the marble. At that moment, she takes the marble and runs home as fast as she can. After reaching home, she holds out her hand and says that here is the marble and now she won't have to die. Shin Woo-yeo glances at her, then at her outstretched hand and says that it's not the marble, but a candy. Hearing this, the look on Lee Dam's face shifts to disappointment. Suddenly, Shin Woo-yeo notices something is off. Lee Dam looks like she's about to vomit. Judging by her line of sight, she is planning to use that antique vase as a place to throw up. Indeed, in the next second, Lee Dam dashes toward the pile of antiques. Shin Woo-yeo waves his hand, and the antiques instantly float up, out of her reach. She then stumbles toward another spot, but she obviously fails again. Without hesitation, the fox opens the bathroom door for her, and Lee Dam goes inside to vomit. That finally calms Lee Dam down, but she is crying at how miserable her life has become. The following day, everything changes when Lee Dam arrives at school. She notices a group of boys standing in front of her. Her mind instantly becomes chaotic, and she quickly walks past them, hoping to avoid any confrontation with the tiger year-born person. Just as she begins to relax, a crowd suddenly rushes toward the cafeteria and collides with her. Fortunately, someone catches her before she falls. Curious about her rescuer, she hesitantly questions about his date of birth to know if he was born in the year of the tiger or not. The senior clarifies that, due to an early birth date, he actually belongs to the year of the cat. Feeling relieved, Lee Dam expresses that he is fortunate to have been born under such a sign. The following day, when Lee Dam is walking into the university, she hears someone calling her name. Recognizing the voice, she quickly realizes that it belongs to the school's most handsome student, who also happens to be her senior. Unfortunately, he was born in the year of the tiger. When this senior approaches her, he simply points out that she has dropped her shirt and even picks it up for her. Watching him step closer, Lee Dam feels a wave of panic and immediately insists that he leave the shirt on the ground. As soon as he does, she cautiously bends down to retrieve it, as she is fearful of any contact. The male student remains frozen in place, struggling to process what just happened. He is the most handsome person and comes in a Porsche to the university. Accustomed to admiration and attention, he finds it difficult to believe that someone would avoid him in the university. Unlike the usual reactions he receives, Lee Dam's behavior only fuels his curiosity about her. Back at the house, Lee Dam decides to negotiate some rules with Shin Woo-yo, thinking that she is dealing with a fox spirit. Since the marble is inside her and cannot be removed for the time being, she insists that he must ensure her safety at all times, as doing so would also protect the marble. Additionally, she demands that he refrain from treating her coldly, explaining that his cold eyes constantly put her in a bad mood. Also, she asks him not to smoke cigarettes anymore. With these terms established, they reach an agreement. The next day, Shin Woo-yo visits his 900-year-old fox friend Yang Hye-sun and tells her about the human girl who has swallowed his marble. Now the girl is living with him in his house. As soon as Hye-sun hears it, she remarks that it is a good thing because now Shin Woo-yo can get the human energy he needs to become the human himself. However, he insists that he cannot allow himself to fall in love with a young girl. He refuses to let history repeat itself, recalling the tragedy from 600 years ago. He also tells her that the marble turned blue for the first time inside that human girl, which is a very unusual thing. On the other hand, Lee Dam is enjoying dinner with her friends, but she is facing difficulties there too, because she cannot eat chicken. Ever since Lee Dam swallowed the fox marble, her entire body remains in a constant state of tension. Here she notices that the school's most popular boy has been watching her from a short distance away. Feeling uneasy, she decides to skip her meal and bids farewell to her friends as she is going to leave for home. As she stands up to leave, the boy comes there suddenly and stops her. Her immediate reaction is to avoid any contact with people born in the year of the tiger, so she firmly asks him to step aside. But instead he asks if they can have a drink together. Before she can respond, her best friend eagerly pulls her back, questioning why she would want to miss such a good opportunity. Although Lee Dam and that boy sit together whenever he tries to touch her, Lee Dam dodges his move. He is trying to become casual with her, but Lee Dam dodges in such a way that it looks very rude, so the boy gets upset and leaves. The following day, Lee Dam notices that the boy is looking at her from a distance in the classroom. After school, he approaches her under the pretense of borrowing money to buy a drink. Before she can react, he takes her phone and enters his number. He asks her to call him whenever she wants something to drink. He believes that by setting up a second meeting, he will pique her interest. However, Lee Dam straightforwardly states that she is not interested in him. The boy gets shocked hearing this. Lee Dam returns home heartbroken too. For 18 years, she has lived in good health, and no one approached her. Yet now she suffers from a problem which she cannot share with anyone, and the boys has started approaching her too. Outside the door, Shin Woo-yo watches her sorrow, and cannot help but recall his companion's earlier question. He knows exactly how to remove the marble, so why does he hesitate? That night, he approaches Lee Dam and states that he is going to extract the marble today from her. Before she can react, he grabs her hand and examines the red marble within her body. Then he releases her hand and tells her to forget everything that has happened to her yet and treat it as a dream. However, as he holds onto her face, preparing to retrieve the fox marble, he suddenly realizes that its color has changed to blue again. Immediately, he stops himself from taking the marble back. Meanwhile, Lee Dam, though unaware of what is happening, feels heartbroken again. Seeing this, Shin Woo-yo pulls her hand and hugs her tightly. He begins to wonder if the girl standing before him is the one he has been waiting for over the past 600 years. The following day, Lee Dam turns to her best friends for advice. She shares a story about someone she knows who once lived with a man. One day, the man suddenly kissed her, but stopped at the most crucial moment. They had only known each other for a week, yet when she attempted to leave, the man hugged her without explanation. Now, the girl is puzzled and wonders what kind of trick he might be playing. Her best friend firmly insists that it is an expression of love from the boy, and that Lee Dam's friend should accept his love. But they don't know that it's actually the story of Lee Dam herself. Meanwhile, Shin Woo-yo himself is filled with questions. When his friend Hye-sun hears about the situation, she recalls that the marble briefly turned blue before returning to red when he attempted to retrieve it. She explains that when she was in a similar situation, her marble immediately changed color, so it's totally normal. Now, she cannot comprehend whether Shin Woo-yo truly wants the marble back or not. Hye-sun herself lived for 900 years as Gumiho, and now has become a human. She suggests that this may be Shin Woo-yo's last chance to regain the marble and turn himself into a human by extracting human energy. But Shin Woo-yo knows he will hurt Lee Dam if he extracts energy from Lee Dam. At the same time, the The senior boy continues to think about Lee Dam, so he texts her. He wants to meet her, but she tells him she is unavailable. The senior gets frustrated and asks what is keeping her so busy. Unexpectedly, she replies that she is cleaning a toilet. She also asks if he has any tips for unclogging it. We see that she is indeed struggling to clean the toilet, as she does not want Shin Woo-yo to get into the bathroom in such an embarrassing situation. At that moment, the senior calls to guide her through the process of unclogging the toilet. He instructs her to tightly close the lid with tape and then flush. When a bulge appears on the tape, he asks her to put some pressure on it. The senior is telling everything from seeing the internet. Following his instructions, Lee Dam finally hears the sound of water flushing and excitedly picks up the phone to thank him. Amused by his unexpected expertise, she gives him the nickname Toilet Fairy. The senior, although slightly surprised, thanks her for the nickname. Taking advantage of the moment, he suggests that she repay him with a meal. Without much thought, Lee Dam agrees. Later that night, Shin Woo-yo starts trying to please her. He brings her favorite pizza and even gently asks if she has eaten enough. If not, he offers to cook for her himself. His sudden tenderness confuses her, and she cannot help but recall her best friend's words, that when a man acts like this, he surely expresses love. Back at home, Lee Dam still takes the initiative to ask Shin Woo-yo about love, leaving him momentarily speechless. Unsure of how to respond, he hesitates. She continues pressing him, asking about his actions the previous night and what they truly meant. Shin Woo-yo explains that, initially, he wanted to let go and allow her to leave. But the thought of being left alone and having to deal with everything by himself made him hesitant and confused. Hearing all this, Lee Dam understands his reasoning and considers the matter settled. Still, she hopes that in the future, he will control himself and avoid actions that might easily lead to misunderstandings. In reality, Shin Woo-yo is following his friend's advice. Since the marble inside Lee Dam has changed color, his friend urges him to start dating her. Meanwhile, Lee Dam's younger brother becomes suspicious of her decision to move out of her old house, so he begins observing her closely. He soon makes an unexpected discovery along with some other friends. He overhears her conversation with Shin Woo-yo and jumps to self-made conclusions. With the way they address each other, he and his friend assume that Lee Dam is involved with the professor. Actually, Shin Woo-yo has now started teaching as a professor at the University of Lee Dam. During the conversation, Shin Woo-yo remains concerned about the marble inside her. When he brings it up, Lee Dam casually places a hand on her belly and mentions that nothing seems to have changed recently. Lee Dam's brother and his friend misinterpret her actions and immediately suggest that she might be pregnant. By this time, Lee Dam and Shin Woo-yo have known about the presence of her brother and his friend, so they invite both of them inside the house. Recognizing that the truth has been exposed, at least in their misunderstanding, Lee Dam's brother immediately begins questioning Shin Woo-yo. He wants to know if Woo-yo loves his sister or not. Without hesitation, Shin Woo-yo answers no. The younger brother then asks if he plans to marry her, and once again he refuses. The younger brother gets frustrated hearing all this, and his friend loses patience too. One of them grabs a stick and charges at Shin Woo, while the other spills the glass of juice on the target. However, before they can even make contact, a single glance from Shin Woo-yo renders both of them motionless in midair. Seeing this, Lee Dam is shocked and frightened. However, Shin Woo-yo remains calm and assures her that he will safely return them home and erase their memories. Before she can react, the two of them vanish instantly. Lee Dam feels extremely frightened because one of the people affected is her younger brother, and the other is the best friend of her brother. She immediately takes out her phone to call her brother, but his number remains unreachable. For a moment, she notices her brother's bag still there, but in the next second, it vanishes as well. Hurriedly, she rushes home only to find her brother casually hosting a group of friends at their house. When she questions him about the missing backpack, her eyes catch the sight of the backpack lying beside the sofa. It becomes clear that the brother remembers nothing about what just happened. Realizing this, Lee Dam quickly makes an excuse about needing to grab her things and leaves in a hurry. As she steps outside, she can't help but wonder how powerful Shin Woo-yo truly is. Meanwhile, Shin Woo-yo calls his friend Hae-sun and faces teasing from her. His friend mocks him for having lived 900 years and still struggling to handle a mere human girl. She offers him a few modern-day strategies, explaining that in the 21st century, sweet words alone no longer work. Practical actions are what truly matter. She advises him to focus on what Lee Dam is thinking and worrying about rather than overcomplicating matters. However, when Lee Dam returns, she doesn't react harshly towards Shin Woo-yo, which is opposite to what he was anticipating. Moreover, she has come with a request this time. She tells Shin Woo-yo about the persistent senior who is still continuously trying to gain the love of Lee Dam. He appears before Lee Dam so frequently that, within a 12-hour day, she sees him at least 20 times. When he isn't physically present, he bombards her with messages, constantly asking for a date. Lee Dam gradually realizes just how persistent he is, and she can't help but reflect on whether she herself has ever behaved in a similar manner before. She still doesn't know that Guy Sunwoo's actions are not arising from genuine interest, but from a bet he made with his friends. They challenged him that he could not win over Lee Dam, and the prize was a hefty sum of 100,000 won. His persistent efforts are nothing more than an attempt to prove his charm and dominance over the so-called untouchable girl at school. Now, Lee Dam has turned to Shin Woo-yo for this matter. The Fox listens everything and quickly understands that Lee Dam's primary goal is to discourage Guy Sunwoo. More importantly, Shin Woo-yo now has to prevent any further closeness between Lee Dam and that senior. Thus, the two of them begin to stage a fake relationship. Shin Woo-yo plans to uncover aspects of Lee Dam that people might find unappealing, using them as a shield to drive Guy Sunwoo away. For this purpose, he first talks about her wardrobe and recalls her wearing a t-shirt with a dog print. That t-shirt may be slightly outdated, and it could work in making her less appealing whenever she meets Guy Sunwoo next time. Lee Dam finds this idea amusing and agrees. Next, he teaches her how to eat messily, exaggerating every action to make the experience unappetizing for others. He reminds her of the time he saw her eating black bean noodles with her mouth full. He suggests that this kind of behavior would naturally repel anyone. Lee Dam considers the advice and realizes that, for once, it might just work. The more Lee Dam listens, the more annoyed she becomes. Shin Woo-yo also adds that he once overheard her talking crudely with her friends on the phone. If she says something like that in front of Guy Sunwoo, she could save herself half the effort. Hearing this, Lee Dam realizes she doesn't need to put in so much effort. She just needs to be herself as usual. Just as they are about to leave, her phone rings again. The moment she answers, she notices loud noises coming from the other end. 2 seconds later, Guy Sunwoo suddenly appears behind her. Seeing this, Shin Woo-yo reacts instantly and pulls Lee Dam back. Her heart pounds rapidly, but she quickly steps away from him, putting distance between them. However, Shin Woo-yo's gaze doesn't move away from Guy Sunwoo. Sensing the tension, Lee Dam hurriedly introduces both the males to each other. She introduces Shin Woo-yo as someone she recently met, but Guy Sunwoo doesn't seem to care. Instead, he casually invites Lee Dam to watch a movie with him the next day. Seeing this, Shin Woo-yo is visibly displeased. Still, before leaving, Guy Sunwoo touches Lee Dam's hair, throwing a provocative glance at her. Guy Sunwoo was born in the year of the tiger, and from the way the fox glares at him, he looks ready to devour him. The day of the date arrives, and Lee Dam follows all the instructions given by Shin Woo-yo. During the date, the weather gets worse, as after the movie, it starts to rain. There, Guy Sunwoo reaches for his wallet, only to realize that his younger brother has taken all his money. Seeing this, he gets embarrassed in front of Lee Dam. However, Lee Dam signals for him to follow her, assuring him that she'll get him home by the bus. This gesture of her undoes all the ugly things she tried to do earlier. A strange feeling stirs in Guy Sunwoo's heart for Lee Dam. This is the first time the rich boy has ever taken a public bus, and also the first time that Lee Dam's love has crossed her heart. After seeing him off, Lee Dam feels unexpectedly happy. She has done everything possible to make herself unappealing. She thinks that Guy Sunwoo surely will hate her now, but to her shock, Guy Sunwoo is actually really impressed by her now. The following day, Shin Woo-yo's friend Hai-sun, who has lived for 600 years, comes to the university for the first time. She has now become a human and wants to pursue the degree of her choice. She is so beautiful that instantly she becomes the center of attention in the university. The first thing she does upon arriving at school is try to befriend Lee Dam because Shin Woo-yo has asked her to keep an eye on her. The girl greets Lee Dam warmly, but in the classroom there is something unsettling about her presence. Her eyes never leave Lee Dam. She stares at her so intently that Lee Dam starts to become uncomfortable. Later that day, Hai-sun meets Shin Woo-yo, who shows his own desire to attend the university. However, Hai-sun already understands his hidden intentions before coming to the university. He wants to be around Lee Dam every time. That day, Lee Dam puts extra effort into her appearance, casually mentioning that she has an appointment in the evening and will be home late. Although she appears normal, Shin Woo-yo continues thinking about her even after she has left. At school, the professor assigns a practical experience project. He pairs the students to complete a love-themed task due by the weekend, along with a thesis report. Lee Dam's friend, Jae-jin, notices an unfamiliar name on the group list and wonders if it belongs to a new student. Actually, Hai-sun has been paired with him for this project. Meanwhile, Lee Dam realizes that she has been paired with Guy Sunwoo, and that's why she feels uneasy. Guy Sunwoo, on the other hand, seems delighted and convinced that luck is on his side. On the following morning, Lee Dam suddenly feels unwell. Checking her phone calendar, she realizes that her menstrual cycle has started, and she is having cramps now. She tells Shin Woo-yo that she has no energy and decides to return to her room to rest. Shin Woo-yo, noticing her discomfort, asks if she is sick, but she is too tired to explain and leaves. Throughout the morning, he keeps a book open but never turns a page as he is worried about Lee Dam. His eyes constantly shift to the clock, waiting for when she comes out of her room. After some time, eventually, he rushes to her room and knocks on the door. He asks if she needs medicine, but seeing her weak response, he grows more worried and inquires if she has a fever. Lee Dam explains that medication won't help in this situation. Shin Woo-yo immediately understands and hurries to prepare warm water for her. Determined to help, he sets up a table filled with comforting food. After eating, Lee Dam feels slightly better, though she knows that some discomfort will persist for days. When she wakes up the next morning, she is still not enjoying good health. She also remembers that today is Sunday, meaning there is no way to avoid completing the love course assignment with Guy Sun-woo. So, she comes out of bed and gets ready to go for the assignment. When Shin Woo-yo asks where she is going, she replies with reluctance that she must work on the professor's task with Guy Sun-woo, born in the year of the tiger. Seeing her weakened state, he hesitates at first, and then suddenly calls her back. He assures her that he has a solution that will allow her to stay home and rest. When she asks what he means, he simply transforms into her copy self and asks her to leave everything to him. Lee Dam is unsure whether to trust his plan or not, but Shin Woo-yo seems confident. However, what neither of them considers is that while appearances can be mimicked, personalities cannot be easily replicated. Lee Dam arrives at the meeting point with Guy Sun-woo as scheduled, but something feels off. The date begins with a meal, but the fox's natural habit of maintaining excessive politeness adds to Guy Sun-woo's growing confusion. Although everything about her appearance remains the same, gentle and beautiful, something about her personality does not seem right. Meanwhile, Hae-sun is on a separate date with Jae-jin. She is going to watch the movie to complete her course assignment. Just as they arrive at the cinema entrance, she catches sight of Lee Dam and Guy Sun-woo. Jae-jin, being a best friend, immediately recognizes Lee Dam, lights up with excitement and rushes toward her as usual. However, Hae-sun observes from a short distance and instantly realizes that the person with Guy Sun-woo is not Lee Dam at all. This marks the first time the 900-year-old fox experiences such an unusual situation. She stands still, watching the scene as an entertaining spectacle. Later that day, Shin Woo-yo waits to pick up Lee Dam after school. He spreads a cushion on the seat to ensure that she does not feel cold. Soon, someone knocks on the car door. Expecting Lee Dam, Shin Woo-yo turns to look and find his friend Hae-sun instead. Without hesitation, she climbs in and makes herself comfortable in the car. Shin Woo-yo is clearly displeased and remains silent as she settles in. Noticing his expression, Hae-sun quickly realizes that he has not been waiting for her. She teasingly reminds him that if nine-tailed foxes allow their emotions to waver, they will never meet a good end. She warns him that letting personal feelings interfere with important matters can lead to disastrous consequences. At that moment, Lee Dam approaches the car. Shin Woo-yo, seeing her coming closer, instructs his friend to leave immediately. However, Hae-sun refuses to leave the car as she wants to tease her friend further. Just as Lee Dam opens the door, Hae-sun vanishes without a trace by the magic of Shin Woo-yo. She is still nearby, fixing her makeup, but outside the car of Shin Woo-yo. When she turns around, she spots Lee Dam standing beside her. The sight leaves her utterly embarrassed, as she never expected Shin Woo-yo to use his magic on her that way. On the other hand, as Lee Dam settles into the car, her best friend watches her from a distance, noticing that she is going with the professor. She tells this to Jae-jin, and as a result, his expression darkens, and he gets saddened because Lee Dam never told him about her relationship, though being a best friend. Even when Lee Dam takes the initiative to speak to him, he remains indifferent. His attitude is very cold for her now. Jae-jin accuses her of lacking morals. He recounts everything, from her shamelessness in public to the way she disregards her friend's feelings. He implies that Lee Dam never truly saw him as a friend. Before she can respond, he breaks off mid-sentence and walks away. In the days that follow, he continues to ignore her completely. Lee Dam returns home, feeling frustrated and unable to contain her emotions any longer. She decides to call Jae-jin as she wants to explain everything now, but to her surprise, Jae-jin hangs up on her without a word. Lee Dam further gets angered and she shouts in frustration, which startles Shin Woo-yo outside. Sensing her distress, Shin Woo-yo asks if the marble in her stomach is causing her discomfort. Lee Dam is clearly irritated and vents her frustration against this question. She demands that he find a way to get rid of the marble soon. Shin Woo-yo remains silent for a moment and then says he hasn't found a way yet. In truth, he has a solution, but chooses not to reveal it just then. Meanwhile, Jae-jin overhears some classmates talking about Guy Sun-woo's recent loss. They mock him for bragging and claiming that people like Lee Dam can easily be deceived. Now, Guy Sunwoo has realized his failure, admitted his defeat to his friends for the bet. He has also given the 100,000 won. Hearing all this, Jae-jin is unable to contain himself any longer, so he storms over to Guy Sunwoo and grabs his shirt. He wants to know from Senior if he had lured Lee Dam into the bet. At this, Guy Sunwoo admits that he wanted to win Lee Dam's affection, but didn't want her to find out about the bet. Lee Dam overhears the conversation, and her expression hardens over this. She tells Guy Sunwoo to stop wasting his time and to consider it all a joke. Guy Sunwoo starts apologizing sincerely and hopes that she won't be angry with him. As Lee Dam processes the situation, two of her close friends arrive there. Their eyes are filled with hostility toward Guy Sunwoo. They immediately pull Lee Dam away as they are trying to shield her from further upset. Scene shifts to Hai Sun, who is watching a news on the TV. People have been disappearing from the city, only to be found later with their internal organs removed. Seeing this news, she immediately calls Shin Woo-yo to inform him that these disappearances are unlikely to be the work of humans. As she speaks, the fox feels an ominous chill run down his spine. Later that night, while reading a book, Shin Woo-yo forgets to close the window curtains. He notices a cat outside staring at him. Its eyes are strangely intense. Meanwhile, Lee Dam doesn't make a habit of closing the curtains in her room. She doesn't know that she is being watched by the same cat too. The cat quickly retreats when Shin Woo-yo spots it, but as it moves further away, it transforms into a person. Our man chases after the figure, but by the time he steps outside, the mysterious person has vanished. After that, he meets Hai Sun and discusses the matter of Cat and the disappearing people. They have to uncover the truth behind it. The next day, when Lee Dam heads to school, Hai Sun sticks close to her. Even during class, her eyes never leave Lee Dam. She has promised Shin Woo-yo to protect Lee Dam to the best of her ability. However, her commitment seems a bit much when Lee Dam sees her suddenly reaching for the hand of Jae-jin. She mistook Jae-jin for the enemy and twisted his hand. Later, Lee Dam goes to the library alone to borrow some books. As she turns around, she bumps into someone. The man kindly picks up the book for her and warns her to be careful, but those words were enough for Lee Dam to be feared. Suddenly, she hears the Shin Woo-yo voice calling from behind. He asks her what she is doing. Lee Dam explains that she just bumped into someone, but when she turns back, the man has disappeared. She tries to dismiss it, thinking it's not important. Later that night, while passing by a flower shop, Lee Dam spots a girl inside. The sight reminds her of a portrait she once saw in a book owned by Shin Woo-yo. She remembers that the girl in the shop is the first love of Shin Woo-yo, as her appearance completely matches the one in the portrait. Despite the fact that it's an ex from 500 years ago, Lee Dam feels a pang of jealousy. Soon, Shin Woo-yo also reaches there and sees the girl in the shop. Lee Dam notices the tension in the air, and at that moment she pulls him, wanting to go home, but the fox refuses to go. He says that he'll follow her once he checks something in the shop. After that, Shin Woo-yo enters the flower shop. Upon seeing the girl, he immediately sees through her disguise. He realizes the girl has used the face of his ex to appear in front of Lee Dam. He warns her not to do this again. He also knows that she must be after his marble. Hearing this, the girl drops the pretense and changes into dark, ill-looking witch. She smiles and then vanishes from the scene. Shin Woo-yo feels a premonition of danger. He teleports back home and pulls Lee Dam inside. He tells her that his first love is a thing of the past, and that now his sole focus is protecting her. From that day onward, Shin Woo-yo continues to pick her up daily. But with the upcoming exams, Lee Dam becomes preoccupied with studying and gathering materials. She doesn't know that someone seems to be secretly targeting her from the shadows. One night when Shin Woo-yo is in the car, he grows uneasy. He wants to find Lee Dam, but before he can, he receives a phone call. The captain who has been researching on the disappearances is talking on the other side. He mentions that the murderer's face is someone familiar. Shin Woo-yo looks through the car's windshield, wondering if the murderer has the ability to transform like him. Meanwhile, Lee Dam discovers that Shin Woo-yo has come to the library to find her. She's overjoyed and asks why he came so urgently. He explains that he just wanted to check on her, and then his gaze drifts to her stomach. Upon seeing the red light, he smiles hungrily and slowly reaches out to touch her. But just then, books fall from the shelves, and when Lee Dam turns back, Shin Woo-yo has vanished. Unknown to her, the man she saw was an evil spirit disguised as Shin Woo-yo. It was there seizing an opportunity to get the marble. Shin Woo-yo wastes no time. He squeezes the evil spirit's neck and pushes it against a wall. In an instant, the spirit disappears. Just then, a mountain god, who controls everything, comes there. He reminds Shin Woo to consider Lee Dam as his last line of defense. Shin Woo-yo has to extract energy from her to convert to a human, but to ensure that Lee Dam remains safe as he transforms into a human, he must have to find another way soon. The next day, Shin Woo-yo invites Lee Dam on a trip. Hearing this, Lee Dam recalls that the fox always refused to travel before and wonders why he's changed his mind. He says that he's thought things through and now wants to go with her. Lee Dam gets excited and doesn't realize that the fox has other motives. On their trip, they take beautiful photos together and walk through a land of wishes. Lee Dam makes a wish to be always together with Shin Woo-yeol. As the day turns to evening, the scene is romantic and filled with a strange sadness. Lee Dam suggests they return next year to this place. The fox is stunned momentarily and then reveals that he has tricked her from the start. He confesses that he knew how to extract the marble but didn't because of his selfish desire to become human. He needed Lee Dam's essence to nourish the marble, but now he plans to end it all. He tells Lee Dam that when she wakes up, she will forget everything about this time. Ultimately, he takes the marble out, but Lee Dam's tears are visible. The following day, when Lee Dam awakens, her life returns to normal, but something feels off. As she heads to school, a familiar figure flashes in her mind. She still remembers everything. She wonders why Shin Woo-yeol allowed her to remember. She now gets very sad upon remembering everything of her recent past. And soon, she finds herself squatting on the ground and crying bitterly at all these memories. Guy Sun-woo notices her distress and approaches, asking if she's feeling unwell. He gently tells her to sit on the bench and rest momentarily. While the senior's concern seems sincere, he feels a bit of happiness seeing Lee Dam cry since she no longer rejects him as she did before. Hai-sun is also walking by and sees them together. She wonders why Lee Dam is so close to the person born in the year of the tiger. She immediately suspects Shin Woo-yeol has left Lee Dam and taken his marble too. The next moment, Hai-sun reaches Shin Woo-yeol's house and confirms what she suspects. Hai-sun reminds him that if he had chosen to keep the marble in Lee Dam's body to nourish it, he should not have become emotionally entangled in the first place. She tells him that now that he's given up, he should find a new target to nourish his marble, as his time is running out. She's curious why he hasn't erased Lee Dam's memories. Shin Woo-yeol replies that he has already erased memories related to him, but Hai-sun begins to suspect that his magic is weakening because he is close to 1,000 years of age. Back at the university, the sky darkens and starts to rain. Lee Dam can't help but sigh, thinking that she has bad luck wherever she goes, and now she doesn't even have an umbrella. Just then, an umbrella appears above her head. Turning around, she sees it's Shin Woo-yeol. She says nothing as she steps out from under the umbrella. He calls after her, telling her it's raining and that she should take the umbrella. But Lee Dam asks why she should hold a stranger's umbrella. Shin Woo-yeol's heart aches at her words, though he doesn't show it. The scene shifts to the classroom. Today, a new young professor arrives, and it's clear that he's Shin Woo-yeol, having come to the university because of Lee Dam. His presence attracts many female students, but only Lee Dam feels it's not a good sign. Later, they meet in the elevator, and the atmosphere feels strange because the senior boy is also there and asks Lee Dam if she has chosen a date for their upcoming dinner. The fox doesn't say anything, but he overhears everything. Before Lee Dam can answer, Guy Sun-woo asks if today is a good time. Suddenly, the elevator vibrates, and the two people instinctively support Lee Dam. Lee Dam looks at Shin Woo-yeol and pushes him away. She then thanks Guy Sun-woo instead, which makes the other feel uneasy. After they exit the elevator, Guy Sun-woo takes the opportunity to follow Lee Dam, but she deliberately leads him to a secluded area. There, she tells him she doesn't want to date him as she is not interested in him. They also talk about their last conversation about dinner. Actually, the previous day, when Guy Sun-woo thought that Lee Dam was in a bad mood, and that's why he wanted to send her a comforting message. However, he struggled with how to word it, and before he could, his mischievous younger sister snatched the phone from him. While playing with the phone, the younger sister discovered that her brother was texting a girl. In her playful manner, she sent a message to Lee Dam, arranging a dinner. When Lee Dam received the message, her younger brother was also sitting next to her. He commented on how Guy Sun-woo was still pursuing his sister. There must be some genuine love, so he grabbed the phone and started to play around with it. Seeing the messages, the younger brother felt extremely happy and texted him back with jolly stickers. Meanwhile, the senior on the other side was overjoyed by the unexpected answer to his messages. Back to the present, Lee Dam tells Guy Sun-woo that the whole conversation on the phone was a mistake made by her brother. She also adds that she likes someone else, and that's why there is no chance for him. Guy Sun-woo feels disappointed by Lee Dam's revelation that she already liked someone. He secretly contemplates who this person might be. He watches Lee Dam closely in class, noting that she seems particularly close to Jae-jin. Could it be that she likes him? Guy Sun-woo can't help but think that Jae-jin is much stronger than him, so perhaps he is more worthy of her attention. However, when Shin Woo-yeol lectures at the podium, he also notices Lee Dam and Jae-jin's happy interaction. His thoughts mirror those of seniors such as Lee Dam and Jae-jin. Later, Guy Sun-woo goes home and shows his sister a photo of Jae-jin. He asks her who she thinks is more handsome between him and Jae-jin. After taking a look, the younger sister admits that Guy Sun-woo is definitely definitely more handsome. Pleased by the compliment, Guy Sun-woo gifts her a bill of money to buy something delicious. He looks at his reflection in the mirror, content with the idea that he's better looking. Meanwhile, Lee Dam is having drinks with Jae-jin to calm her sorrows after another breakup, but she doesn't expect his health to be so fragile. Eventually, she ends up carrying him home after the drinks. On the road under the influence of alcohol, Jae-jin starts running erratically and crashes into a car by the roadside. Lee Dam is startled by the sound of glass breaking. She quickly rushes to help him and starts cleaning up the mess, but then she notices someone emerging from the car. It's none other than our high sun. Before she can process what's happening, another figure steps out of the car, and this time, it's Shin Woo-yo. It means that they both are traveling together in one car, which is a bit shocking for Lee Dam. As she helps Jae-jin, Shin Woo-yo tries to intervene, but Lee Dam pushes him away rudely, saying that she can handle it herself. She apologizes to Shin Woo-yo for damaging the car and promises to pay for the repairs. The following day, there is an academic tour to some remote place. During the travel, Hye-sun sits next to Lee Dam. This reminds Lee Dam of the previous night when Shin Woo-yo had walked down from her car. Though Hye-sun claims she feels no attachment to him, Lee Dam is still jealous of her. When they get off the bus at the destination, Guy Sun-woo takes the opportunity to confess his feelings for Lee Dam. Still, Jae-jin interrupts, asking Guy Sun-woo if he's mentally stable and why he's always lingering around Lee Dam. The two men start arguing with each other. Hye-sun is observing the situation from a distance. She feels sympathy for Shin Woo-yo and then sends him the photo of the two men fighting for Lee Dam. Looking into Lee Dam's eyes, Shin Woo-yo decides to take matters into his own hands. The man stares at her photo and recites a spell. The next second, Lee Dam appears in front of him, but before she can react, Shin Woo-yo approaches her and holds her face tightly, and then he starts kissing her. Instinctively, she responds, but something feels off. His eyes change color, and his movements become rough. Lee Dam realizes that something is wrong and urges him to stop. Only then does Shin Woo-yo regain control himself. As he looks at her, his mind flashes back to something Hye-sun once said. When the fox reaches human form, they crave essence, not love, but hunger. Shin Woo-yo now understands the danger and reaches out to Hye-sun to find a way to control his instincts. She tells him that the solution is simple: avoid contact with Lee Dam. However, after hearing this, Shin Woo-yo is speechless as he realizes how difficult it is to resist his urges, especially with Lee Dam so close. The next day, when Lee Dam returns home, she blushes by replaying the kiss in her mind. She is feeling excited and confused at the same time. On the other hand, Shin Woo-yo suddenly feels dizzy, and his vision blurs. He doesn't know what's happening to him and decides to lie down to rest. In the class, Lee Dam learns that the professor is unwell and has taken the day off. She gets worried and immediately reaches the office of Shin Woo-yo, and there she finds him looking pale. As she approaches him, she calls his name and he slowly turns to face her. Her eyes are captivating, and he feels an overwhelming urge to draw closer. Just as he moves toward her, his consciousness snaps back. Realizing what's happening, he avoids her and tells her to leave now. Just then, Hye-sun comes there. She senses the situation and pulls Lee Dam away. Outside the office, Lee Dam confronts Hye-sun, stating that she knows she's a fox and wants to understand what's happening with the professor. Hye-sun warns her that even if she explains, humans won't be able to understand. But one thing is certain: Lee Dam doesn't fully comprehend what they are. Later that day, as Lee Dam passes by Guy Sun-woo, he comments on her appearance, noticing she's lost weight. Lee Dam gets concerned, weighs herself, and is shocked to see that she's lost 10 kilograms. There, she realizes that she's been drained of her essence by the marble. She remembers Shin Woo-yo's words, warning her to keep her distance to avoid this very situation. He had told her that after retrieving the marble's essence, he would still be hungry, and if they stayed close, he would instinctively drain her essence. In a panic, Lee Dam calls Shin Woo-yo, acknowledging that he was right. They must stay apart until a solution is found. Though Shin Woo-yo is deeply saddened by Lee Dam's decision to keep her distance, he tells her he understands. The following day, as Lee Dam walks into the university, she suddenly realizes that someone is behind her. As she turns around, a man stands there staring at her. He then hands her a lipstick she had dropped. Lee Dam asks him how he knew it was hers. The man answers that he's always watching her. The strange atmosphere unsettles Lee Dam even more, but what she doesn't know is that the man is not just focused on her, he's also targeting Shin Woo-yo. On the other hand, Shin Woo-yo also senses a dangerous aura. The aura is actually of the mountain god who casually binds Lee Dam and Guy Sun-woo with a red thread, connecting the destiny of the two of them. He doesn't want Shin Woo-yo and Lee Dam to get close to each other, and that's why he is making Lee Dam closer to the senior. Mountain gods govern human marriage marriages. They are indifferent to matters between Fox and the humans. The god disappears before Shin Woo-yo can do anything, and now he is left alone to think about the mysterious nature of his fate. Meanwhile, Guy Sun-woo's life takes a turn when his father confiscates his card for spending a lot of money at once. He seeks help from the local subway owner, but the uncle seems uninterested in lending a hand. However, when the uncle sees a customer eyeing Guy Sun-woo admiringly due to his looks, he immediately decides to put him to work. Guy Sun-woo is reluctant, but eventually agrees as he wants to earn a living. From now on, Guy Sun-woo will be working there, but it's not exactly the kind of job he had in mind. Just then, the red string around the senior's finger is stretched because Lee Dam is entering the shop. Fate is working and making them closer. Lee Dam has shown up to apply for a job. The senior now becomes serious and tells the uncle he must hire Lee Dam. The uncle quickly understands what's happening here. On the other hand, Shin Woo-yo worries about the significance of the red thread. Hai-sun explains that men and women bound by the red string are destined to love one another, no matter what happens. But Shin Woo-yo dismisses the idea, claiming he's only interested in severing the connection. That evening, the entire class goes out to eat together. There, Guy Sun-woo tells Lee Dam to drink less, which leads the girl sitting next to her to mistakenly think they're dating. Lee Dam insists that she already has a boyfriend. Hearing this again, Guy Sun-woo feels suffocated and drinks to drown his frustration. Though he's clearly in pain, he shows his care for her when he sees Lee Dam getting ready to leave. But his headache is too much to bear, so he sits down in pain. Lee Dam tells him to take care of himself, but just as she's about to leave, the red string pulls her back. Unwantedly, she returns to him and asks if he wants her help calling a taxi. At that moment, the senior instinctively falls against her and hugs her. Shin Woo-yo has been watching from a distance all this. Just as Lee Dam leaves Guy Sun-woo into a cab, Shin Woo-yo pulls her away, removing her from Guy Sun-woo's grasp. He then closes the cab door, making sure Guy Sun-woo can't get out. The red thread is still there, which is a real concern for him. Lee Dam notices this and tries reassuring him that Guy Sun-woo had drunk too much. The next day, Lee Dam gets into work mode. Shin Woo-yo calls to check on her, asking if she's tired and offering to pick her up once she finishes work. But Lee Dam glances at Guy Sun-woo, who is now her colleague, so she quickly declines, saying she can go home on her own. At that moment, Guy Sun-woo spills his drink, and Lee Dam quickly hangs up the phone, but not before she asks the senior if he's okay. Shin Woo-yo overhears this and feels even more uneasy. When work ends, Guy Sun-woo approaches Lee Dam and asks if she needs a ride home. She declines, but he insists, using the excuse that he has something work-related to discuss. So Lee Dam agrees, but as they walk together, Shin Woo-yo watches them from a distance. Back at home at night, when Shin Woo-yo plans to ask Lee Dam about work, the power goes out in his house. Lee Dam attempts to move forward, but accidentally slips and falls, ending up in close contact with our hero. At that moment, the marble suddenly comes out of the mouth of Shin Woo-yo and flies into her mouth. Seeing this, Shin Woo-yo gets startled and doesn't know how to react. So he tells her to close her eyes and uses the opportunity to retrieve the marble. During this process, they end up even closer to one another. Later, Lee Dam explains that fate's coincidence had led her to work with Guy Sun-woo, while Shin Woo-yo reveals that the mountain god had tied the red thread between her and the senior. The following day, though Lee Dam can see the thread now, she can't remove it. She tries to find scissors to cut the thread but misses a step and falls hard. Shin Woo-yo happens to be nearby and rushes to her aid. Just as he reaches her, he gets frozen by the mountain god, who suddenly appears and warns Lee Dam that playing with fate's design has serious consequences. Lee Dam asks if her future is already determined, and the mountain god replies that while he can't predict everything, he can let her see glimpses of the future in her dream. Lee Dam closes her eyes and experiences sweet visions of herself with Guy Sun-woo. Meanwhile, Shin Woo-yo struggles against the freezing force. Just as the man says his part, he manages to break free and helps Lee Dam to her feet. The mountain god reassures Shin Woo-yo that it was only a dream. However, he reminds him that, as an animal, he has no right to alter his fate. In the evening, Shin Woo-yo comes with a shy face and clings to Lee Dam. He confesses that he's scared that someone else might steal her from him. Lee Dam asks him not to worry, but she doesn't know that Shin Woo-yo still holds the red thread between her and Guy Sun-woo. But this annoying red string seems to have some magical power. The next day, when Lee Dam finishes school, she spots Shin Woo-yo waiting for her. She runs toward him excitedly, but suddenly trips over the red string. At that moment, the senior happens to pass by and catches her. As soon as Lee Dam sees this, she instinctively pulls away from him, as she knows that it must be the effect of the red string. Guy Sun-woo offers to take her to a dinner party, but Lee Dam says she's already going with someone. Just then, Shin Woo-yo appears there and says that she is going with me. The senior is curious why Lee Dam would be going with a professor, and Shin Woo-yo is also caught off guard and doesn't know how to explain. Lee Dam quickly breaks the awkward silence and publicly declares that they're dating. Guy Sun-woo becomes upset hearing this and responds that it's fine if she's dating anyone else, but not this man. Lee Dam asks what Guy Sun-woo means. Before Guy Sun-woo can finish speaking, Shin Woo-yo pulls Lee Dam away. The more Lee Dam thinks about it in class, the more something feels off. During university time, a teacher exits Shin Woo-yo's office. Shin Woo-yo is also following her, and his face is blooming with a smile. But when he notices Lee Dam standing there, he becomes embarrassed and even pushes the teacher's hand away. Lee Dam perceives that Shin Woo-yo is extracting the essence of this teacher. Shin Woo-yo wants to explain himself, but Lee Dam pushes him away. She feels disgusted, realizing that he harmed others just to satisfy his hunger for essence. She's deeply disappointed, but then a photo of the fox being intimate with the teacher spreads everywhere. Hae-sun also sees it and immediately understands the fox's purpose. She sees Lee Dam's depressed state and guesses that something went wrong. So Hae-sun calls Lee Dam over and takes her for eating. There, she talks about helping Shin Woo-yo. She says it's not his fault. He's a fox who's been practicing for hundreds of years. He can easily do things that God or ghosts wouldn't even notice. She doesn't tell Lee Dam that the marble would have absorbed all of her essence, but it didn't. However, now that the fox has met Lee Dam, his marble is turning green. Lee Dam asks why the marble has turned green, and Hae-sun explains that the red beads absorb human essence, which transforms into green, and eventually, they will turn into humans. She says that ever since Shin Woo-yo met Lee Dam, his marble has started changing, and it's now half green. Also, his hunger for essence has increased a lot. That's why Shin Woo-yo has made such a mess this time. Realizing that the fox has the ability to turn into a human, Lee Dam immediately says she has something important to do, and leaves the diner. The important thing she's referring to is finding Shin Woo-yo. There she tells him that he was wrong and that he hasn't cared about her feelings. Hearing this, he swears that he won't act impulsively anymore, but Lee Dam pulls his hand away. She urges him to give her the marble again to raise, but Shin Woo-yo immediately refuses. He says he doesn't want to hurt her essence anymore. Lee Dam asks if he looks down on her essence, but Shin Woo-yo tells her to calm down and not get worked up. Just then, Lee Dam jumps up and hugs the fox's face, trying to suck his essence. Shin Woo-yo has no choice, so he runs away. We see that Shin Woo-yo struggles to use his teleporting technique. He also feels exhausted after multiple failed attempts. At that moment, Hae-sun passes by and sees the situation. She feels worried for him because Shin Woo-yo still would have to endure a lot of trouble while becoming a human. To help him, Hae-sun approaches Lee Dam and asks if she wants to make Shin Woo-yo obedient. Lee Dam is curious and wants to know how. Hae-sun tells her that she must become a fox herself. A fox's strength lies in setting traps. She suggests Lee Dam teaming up with Jae-jin to create a trap. Lee Dam agrees and approaches Jae-jin, asking him to help set the trap. Jae-jin agrees to cooperate when he hears that Hae-sun is on the team. The two work together, playing their parts to show affection in front of everyone. Their main objective is they make Shin Woo-yo jealous of their fake relationship. Indeed, the fox grows uncomfortable when he sees them together. After some days, Hae-sun, seeing their intimate behavior, wonders if their friendship is crossing a line. While contemplating this, she never imagines that the trick she taught Lee Dam will eventually be used on herself, as she is in love with Jae-jin by now. She reassures herself that she won't pay attention to the small things, though she can't help but feel uneasy when she sees the two of them getting close. That evening, Lee Dam notices the red string in her hand is being pulled taut. She picks up a knife from the trash can and cuts a line through it. A strange scene occurs as she's suddenly transported into another time and space. A man appears and tells her she's brave for using such a method to summon him. Lee Dam isn't afraid and tells him that she has someone she loves. She asks if the mountain god has too much free time, but he responds that this is for the fox's good. Lee Dam also says that she's curious about why the fox's marble is only half green. He explains that what makes the marble turn green isn't essence, but human nature. He explains that she must experience suffering and happiness together to understand this. If she overcomes these challenges, the fox will naturally become human. Before Lee Dam could finish speaking, she's pulled back into reality, but now she understands that the fox lacks humanity. She is now determined to risk her life to supplement her knowledge, find documents, and learn about human nature. That evening, she tells Shin Woo-yo that she has found a way to turn his marble green completely. Shin Woo-yo reminds her that if she needs to regain her energy, she should go home, take a shower, and rest. Lee Dam says that he only needs to cooperate with her from the next day. The following day, as Shin Woo-yo is driving Lee Dam, A car behind them suddenly takes a sharp cut in front of them and speeds up. Shin Woo-yo immediately steps on the brakes and asks with concern if Lee Dam is okay. Lee Dam doesn't reply and then criticizes him for not bullying the person who took over their car. It's human nature to bully the people who do such things on the road. She is trying to teach a fox how he can be a human. Shin Woo-yo assures her he'll fix it slowly. In the university, Lee Dam sees Shin Woo-yo appear again. There they talk a bit, and then she shyly says, "See you at home later." To their surprise, the friends of Lee Dam are listening to their conversation from behind a corner. They wonder why Lee Dam has told a professor to meet at home in the evening. The scene becomes a bit awkward, so Shin Woo-yo says that she made an appointment to meet with the professor to find information for her thesis at home. Her best friend, hearing this, excitedly says they can go together. Seeing her friend's enthusiasm, Lee Dam agrees, and the professor is very welcoming. In the evening, they all head to the professor's house. Lee Dam pretends to thank the professor for inviting them, then heads straight to the study room. Jae-jin wonders how Lee Dam knows that the study room is on this side. Lee Dam realizes that she's been careless, so she immediately corrects herself, saying that most people's study rooms are over there. She also asks Shin Woo-yo if her guess is correct. The fox says her judgment is good. After some time, as they are about to finish finding the documents, Shin Woo-yo says they should go home now if there's nothing else to do. Lee Dam, hearing this, realizes something isn't right and quickly thinks of a way to stay longer. She suggests they stay and have a party since it's rare that they've gone to the professor's house to play. Unfortunately, this idea fails, and during the conversation, they end up talking about Lee Dam's secret boyfriend, which doesn't go well. Lee Dam unconsciously looks toward Shin Woo-yo as her ignorant best friend continues to scold her, recalling how Lee Dam had cried bitterly after breaking up the last time. The friend complains her boyfriend doesn't care about her, calling him a cunning fox with no humanity. Hearing this, Shin Woo-yo grows angrier, and his emotions start bubbling like boiling water. He tries to suppress it, but their conversation continues. Suddenly, the hot pot explodes in fire, and it's clear who is responsible. Later that day, Shin Woo-yo places his bag aside, grabs his girlfriend's hand, and once he confirms there's no one around, they get into the car by teleportation technique. But to their surprise, Hae-sun is already sitting there. She laughs mockingly, saying it's understandable since he's lived for 999 years and his eyes have gotten blurred. Her words embarrass him in front of Lee Dam, and he protests with the little strength he has left. Seeing Shin Woo-yo struggle to control his temper, Lee Dam immediately changes the subject and suggests that they should hurry home. He agrees and the two disappear again, teleporting smoothly back home. Once at home, Lee Dam asks about the recent failures and Shin Woo-yo suggests it's probably because he's tired. Lee Dam doesn't think much of it, but Shin Woo-yo begins to doubt himself once she leaves. Logically, it doesn't make sense, so he holds out his hand, and the books on the shelf immediately fly to his hand. There's no problem with magic, but when he tries moving the flower pot, it only moves slightly before staying still. He gets frustrated and tries again. Just then, Hae-sun comes there. He tells her that sometimes his magic works, and sometimes it doesn't. She also learns that his marble has turned a bit more green. Then she remembers when she used magic to teleport to Paris. When she returned, she discovered she couldn't use her magic anymore, but when she was arrested for illegally entering the country, her magic returned to normal. It was after this event that she transformed into a human. Shin Woo-yo's situation is similar, and it seems the next step for him is to become human as well. At night, Shin Woo-yo is overwhelmed with joy and can barely contain his excitement. He wants to share the good news with Lee Dam, but before he can speak, he notices something unusual. When he looks at himself in the glass, he sees that his hands have become transparent. A chill runs down his spine, and he realizes that something is terribly wrong. Maybe he's nearing the end. He tells Lee Dam about it, and she thinks he's talking about finally turning into a human, so she excitedly hugs him, but he says nothing in response. As the night continues, Shin Woo-yo begins to feel strange, explaining that perhaps he's about to become human, which is why he's feeling cold. To ease his discomfort, he crawls into Lee Dam's bed and falls asleep with her there. The next day, Shin Woo-yo suggests they skip the university and go out for a fun day. Lee Dam eagerly agrees. Outside, they take beautiful photos together and play all the games a couple should. However, while walking near the lantern house, Lee Dam accidentally falls. Shin Woo-yo tries to pull her back, but as he looks at his hand, it has turned transparent, and he has been teleported in the middle of a busy road. He glances down at his marble pendant and sees that it's broken. He knows his time is running out. Meanwhile, Lee Dam is still wondering where Shin Woo-yo has disappeared. When she finally finds him back, she angrily asks why he vanished without a word. She says that this joke wasn't funny, and the fall caused her a lot of pain. Shin Woo-yo, however, doesn't reveal the truth. Just then, Lee Dam's mother calls, saying that Lee Dam needs to come home for a few days. Li Dam reluctantly leaves, but his heart feels hollow as she lets go of Shin Woo-yo. He is unsure if he will ever see her again. After that, Shin Woo-yo meets Hye-sun and thanks her for always thinking of him, even after nearly 1,000 years. Despite not becoming human, he sincerely thanks her for her help. The fox girl immediately stops him from speaking, as she doesn't want to hear such a goodbye. This time, Shin Woo-yo asks for one last favor, and only she can help him with it. After returning home, Shin Woo-yo sits on the ground and starts crying helplessly. He's not afraid of disappearing. He's afraid of leaving Li Dam behind. For over 900 years, he's never cried like this before, and it breaks his heart to know he might never see her again. On the other hand, as Li Dam thinks about everything, she begins to realize something is wrong. She looks at the photo on her table and sees that Shin Woo-yo is gradually disappearing from it. Panic sets in. She knows something is terribly wrong. That's why she immediately rushes to the fox's house, calling his name. As she runs, she asks him on the phone, "What's at the end of the road?" The fox knows he can't hide the truth any longer, but just as Li Dam becomes distracted, a car races toward her, and she freezes there seeing the car. The fox senses the danger and immediately realizes that Li Dam is in trouble. At this critical moment, Li Dam is struck by a car and she's pushed aside. When she looks up again after a moment, she sees the fox lying on the ground, having been hit by the vehicle too. The fox silently stares at Li Dam, but he has no strength left. His body is already failing, and he collapses. Tears of hopelessness are streaming down his face. Li Dam quickly rushes to his side, but he remains unresponsive and his eyes are closing. His body begins to fade, and Li Dam desperately touches his fading warmth, while she herself is crying bitterly. The following day, she wakes up on her bed. Looking at the photo of the two of them together on her phone, Li Dam notices something strange. The image of Shin Woo-yo, which had been disappearing earlier, is now clearly visible again. Could it be that he still exists in this world? Her heart swells with certainty that he will return. Li Dam is determined to see him again, and so she decides to stay at Shin Woo-yo's house, waiting for his return. Days turn into weeks, and seasons change, but he does not appear. Then one day, Hye-sun arrives to see Li Dam. She reveals that she's been sent by Shin Woo-yo, who, knowing his time was running out, had given her a message for Li Dam. The fox had asked that if Li Dam ever suffered, Hye-sun should erase Li Dam's memories of him. He wanted her to forget everything about him and live her life free from the pain of his absence. Hye-sun has the marble of Shin Woo-yo, which she can use to erase memories. Li Dam is already heartbroken, and still she refuses to let go of the memories. She tells Hye-sun that even if she were to be sad for the rest of her life, she would not erase her memories of Shin Woo-yo. Meanwhile, in another time and space, the fox seems to hear Li Dam's cries and sheds tears of his own. It feels like they are connected even across these vast distances. One day, when Li Dam wakes up from her bed, she feels the presence of someone behind her. Hye-sun, in the distance, suddenly senses something too. It's Shin Woo-yo who has come back for Our Lady. Li Dam becomes so happy that tears start flowing from her eyes. She is unable to speak because of her happiness. She has been waiting for this moment for so long. Eventually, Li Dam and Shin Woo-yo reunite. The following, they come out, both wearing black. Their fingers are intertwined as they stand together. They go to the marriage bureau to get married, but there is a long waiting line, so Li Dam urges Shin Woo-yo to cast a spell to bypass them, so they can get their marriage certificate. However, Shin Woo-yo reminds her that now he's human. He no longer can perform magic. Here then they talk about the day when Li Dam's mother came to meet her at Shin Woo-yo's house. It turns out that she had met Shin Woo-yo through Li Dam's delivery address. The situation was awkward at that time, and Li Dam's mother was a gangster. The couple tried to lie about their living together but couldn't. Li Dam was embarrassed and asked Shin Woo-yo to cast a spell to erase her mother's memory of meeting him. He was a fox at that time, but still he could not erase her memories. Li Dam's mother was resolute and firm that she remained unaffected by his magic. She was too strong-willed to be influenced by such a spell. When Shin Woo-yo saw that there was no way to hide the truth anymore, he admitted that Li Dam indeed lived at his house, but reassured her mother that nothing inappropriate had occurred and would not occur in the future. Li Dam felt a sense of disappointment for a bit, but to her surprise, her mother didn't react with anger. Instead, she praised them for their honesty. Back to the present, Li Dam asks the fox if he wants to greet his mother-in-law. The fox, however, says that he must go home to care for something important. With this, the couple finally seems to have overcome all obstacles. Their love story reaches its perfect ending.